This video lesson will provide an overview of the steep turn procedure as required by the Private Pilot Practical Test Standards. The steep turn is a performance maneuver and will require you to split your attention between multiple instruments while managing your performance during a high rate of bank. Normally, you will enter the procedure and fly a complete 360-degree turn, first in one direction and then another at 45 degrees of bank. To maintain altitude during the turn, you'll need to use both pitch and power, and be precise with your bank angle despite splitting attention across the instrument panel. These are the performance requirements of a steep turn. Let's discuss the way to maintain these in more detail. Your primary bank instrument for this procedure is the attitude indicator. These three white marks here are in 10-degree increments, 10, 20, and 30 degrees respectively. The next white mark is at the 60 degrees of bank indication. Sometimes aircraft have a dot or additional mark at the 45-degree point, but if it isn't there, you will need to maintain a bank angle equivalent of being halfway between the 30-degree line and the 60-degree line to mimic that 45-degree point. Maintaining this angle of bank throughout the procedure is a little more tricky than it appears. What will happen often with student pilots is they'll end up with an excessive bank angle, slowly steepening into a descending spiral. So, what causes this, and how can you avoid it? This is what causes the issue. At bank angles above 30 degrees, you will experience a loss in the vertical component of lift. If you don't counteract this loss of vertical lift by pulling back or adding power, right about when you reach 45 degrees of bank, you'll find yourself in a potentially significant descent. The reaction by most students is to pull back more, and this can deepen the turn, increase the loss of lift, and require more back pressure, and then the cycle just continues. That's why this is a performance maneuver, and that's why we practice it. Let's look at this in more depth. First, before you start the maneuver, ensure that you're flying at an altitude of at least 1,000 feet AGL. AGL, if you don't know, stands for above ground level, so 1,000 feet will give you a nice safety margin. Also, set your power to low cruise speed, such as 2100 RPM on the tachometer. This will ensure that you don't exceed any structural safety margins. You see here that with no bank angle, all of your lift is going straight up, perpendicular to the wing and directly against gravity. As we increase our bank angle to 30 degrees, the lift vector is still perpendicular to the wing, but it's no longer pointed straight up. So that means that we've lost some of the lift counteracting gravity. To overcome this, we need to either raise the nose to the horizon a bit by pulling back on the controls or adding a bit of power. At angles above 30 degrees, this effect becomes more pronounced. For example, at 45 degrees, we have much less lift counteracting gravity, which requires more back pressure. And it might even help to begin adding some power, all while keeping a scan over the attitude indicator so we don't deviate from the target bank angle. As you roll out of the turn, use 1/2 of the bank angle, or roughly 22 degrees, to lead your turn. And reduce your power and pitch back to where they were at the start of the maneuver, or both will quickly become a climb once you roll wings level. Many students performing the maneuver will only bust through their altitude limitation on exiting the turn because they left in power or they kept some back pressure on the controls. So just remember that as you exit the procedure, you need to undo those control inputs that gave you that additional lift and were helping you. Hope this helps.